All right, so we're starting translations today. Translations are just one of the many transformations that we can do to a figure. So I want you guys all to write the learning goal at the top, and it's that I can use translations on a coordinate plane. So before we get into translations, we need to know what a transformation is. And a transformation is when we change a figure into a new figure. So knowing that we're doing transformations and that translation is just one of many transformations, this means that a translation is when we slide the figure to a new location. When we slide this figure or this shape on the coordinate plane, which means on a graph, a few things stay the same about the shape or about the figure. So the shape does not change. If it was a square, it remains a square. If it was a rectangle, it remains a rectangle. And the size does not change. So the size of whatever shape it is also remains the same. The thing that does change is the location. So the key word here is that we are sliding the figure. We are not changing it. We are not changing the shape. We are not changing the size. All we're doing is taking the object or the figure and moving it across the coordinate plane. So because the size and shape stay the same, the figures are congruent. This means that they are equal. They're the same. So you might want to write same as well. All right. So the original figure is named using letters. Just like when we were doing triangles, we would call a triangle ABC. Same thing with the shape, we use letters to name it as well. The new image, so after we move it across the plane, or we slide it across the coordinate graph, we still use letters to name it, because now there's two shapes on there. We also use something called a prime, and this is just an apostrophe next to the letter. So in words, to move horizontally, A, we'll call it, and vertically, B, on the coordinate plane, add A to the x coordinates and B to the y coordinates of the vertices. Remember, vertices, these are our corners. Positive values A and B translate up and to the right, and negative values translate A and B down or to the left. So what that means is we had a point xy on our graph, and once we move it or slide it, we take our old x value plus however many we're moving to the left or right, and this is our old y value, and then this is moving it up or down. And right now that might not make a whole lot of sense, but once we do some examples, I think it'll help. So let's do example 1 together. So first, let's find our old points. So A's old points, B's old points, and C's old points. So A, remember when we do points, it's always an XY. So we always have to move left or right before we can go up or down. So we move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right, so it's positive, and then down 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's shown by using a -4. So we move 4B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then for C, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remember, we always start at the middle of our axis, and that is 0, 0. Oops. So now to find our new points. So it says we need to translate, this means slide, the triangle ABC up 7 units. So all we're going to do is move our shape up 7 units. So A is now going to go up 7 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is my new A, so we call that A prime. That's what I meant by an apostrophe. So we use the same letter to show that A is in the top of my triangle. All it did was move up 7. And now we're going to do the same thing with B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is B prime to show that's my new B value. C moves up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's my C prime. So when I connect my triangle, you can tell that my size of my triangle is the same. All I did was move it up. So the shape and the size stayed the same, and all I did was translate it up or slide the figure up. So my new points for A prime, B prime, and C prime, I am at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I go up now 1, 2, 3. So 6, 3. And you'll see my y value is now positive because I'm above my x-axis. B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Down 1. Oops, this was negative before, and that was negative before. That was my mistake. And then C is now 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's on the axis, so that's 0. So my rule, we always start the rule with X, Y, and an arrow, just like we saw it up here in our notes. We always have X, Y, and a 0. So when we're writing our rule, this is telling somebody how we moved our figure. So we don't have to actually write it in words. So if I was just telling somebody how I moved my figure, I would say X, Y, and then I take my X value, and did my X value change at all? So let's look to see, did my X value change? My X value did not change, so nothing happened to my X value, so I keep my old X value. And now let's look at our Y values. My Y values did change. And so my rule said that I went up 7. So I took my Y plus, because up is positive direction, and then 7. And we can check that by looking, is -4 plus 7 3? Yes. Is -8 plus 7 -1? Yes. Is -7 plus 7 0? Yes. So we know that my rule worked because my new points match my rule. All right, I want you to try this one on your own and then check it with mine. All right, so when writing my rule, remember we always start with our old xy point changes to, that's what the arrow means. Remember, left slash right affects my x, and up slash down affects my y. So it says that I'm moving left 8, so that means it's going to affect my x. So I'm going to do x minus 8, and then nothing happened to my y. It didn't say move up or down, so I just keep my old y point. So that's why my y points all still match. So now check your points and make sure it matches your rule. Is 4 minus 8 negative 4? Yes. Is 7 minus 8 negative 1? Yep. 7 minus 8 is negative 1. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. So I know that my rule is correct. Do the next two and then check yours with mine. Alright, so this is my new figure. And you can tell that because I use my primes. Make sure that you do that on yours. So when I'm writing my rule, I have x goes 2, or xy goes 2, and it said down 6, so that affects my y. So my x's should have stayed the same, and my y, I'm subtracting 6 from it. So you can check my y's are all the same, or my x's are all the same, sorry, and my y's are minus 6. 8 minus 6 is 2, 6 minus 6 is 0, 1 minus 6 is negative 5, 3 minus 6 is negative 3. So I know that my rule and my new image are correct. All right, so let's do this last one. Go ahead and pause it, and let's compare your answers with mine. All right, so you can tell my new image because they have primes. And so what I did was I moved my A point up 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I moved it to the right 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's how I got my new A prime. And I did the same thing with every point. So up 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you had to go up 7 and right 5 for every single point. Now remember, up affects our y, and up is positive. So our y, we had to add 7 to it. And then we went to the right, which affects our x, and that's the positive direction, and we went 5. So when we write our rule, we have our old points, x, y, changes to, and if you look, this is out of order. Our x always comes first. So we have x plus 5, y plus 7, and let's check our points. So my old point was at negative 5, negative 2. So I'm going to add 5 to my a. So negative 5 plus 5 is 0. And then I'm going to add 7 to my y. So is that negative 2? Negative 2 plus 7 does give me a positive 5. Negative 5 plus 0 gives me, or negative 5 plus 5 gives me 0. Negative 5 plus 7 gives me a positive 2. Negative 5 plus 5 gives me negative 3. Negative 5 plus 7 gives me 2. Negative 8 plus 5 gives me negative 3. Negative 2 plus 7 gives me a positive 5. So my points and my rule, they match. So I know that my rule and all my points are correct. My size of my shape didn't change, and my shape itself didn't change. So we know that we move, or we slid our figure in the correct direction, and we did it properly. We are all done with notes. I did just want to remind you that when you name your shape, you have to add those primes on there, so that way people know which one came first and which came second. So our new image has primes on it, and tomorrow we're going to be learning a new transformation.